the Bolts have a golden opportunity to continue building on their legacy as a winning NHL team with a major decision looming in free agency. The front office has some critical decisions to make. In this episode of Lightning Digest, we'll get into the biggest and arguably most important decision for the Lightning that we've seen in quite some time. So as some of you may or may not know, July 1st at 12 p.m. Eastern Time is when free agency officially hits the NHL market. That means any players with expiring contracts become free agents. They can sign with any team they'd like, any new team, or they could re-sign with their current team. One of those players with an expiring contract is Darren Raddysh, one of our best defenders, objectively best players on the team. Now, the Bolts' current projected playoff cap is about $18 million, give or take. And Darren Raddysh is currently on a 2-year, $1.95 million contract. For what he brings to the table, I must say, that is not a lot. It looks like he's way overdue for a significant raise, and hopefully, if the front office is smart, they'll re-sign Raddysh and give him more than double than what he's making annually at the current moment on that 2-year contract. Recently, the front office signed J.J. Moser, defenseman paired up with Darren Raddysh, to an 8-year, $54 million extension. So Moser's going to make about $6.75 million per season. Now, honestly, I think this was a steal for the Tampa Bay Lightning. J.J. Moser is young, he's gritty, he's very smart, his hockey IQ is very high, and to keep him on for the long term was a very good investment and a smart move for the front office. Now, back to Darren Raddysh. He actually is, like I said, Moser's defensive pairing, and there are two guys that you don't want to separate. And Darren Raddysh on his own is an outstanding player. He was recently nominated for this lovely, very shiny, beautiful award over here. This, folks, is the Masterton Trophy. It is awarded annually to an NHL player who best exemplifies qualities of perseverance, sportsmanship, and dedication to hockey. Now, Darren Raddysh is that in a nutshell. Earlier this season in March, his father passed away after battling pancreatic cancer, and since then, and even before then, he's been unstoppable all season. He didn't let that family tragedy bring him down. He's been bringing his best hockey, his A game, every single game, and this trophy actually was named in honor of Bill Masterton, who suffered a fatal massive brain injury in 1968, and he's the only player in NHL's history to die from an in-game injury. And this was obviously a terrible tragedy, a very unfortunate situation, but it was thanks to these terrible events that players today wear helmets. And wearing helmets became a pivotal part of the game. Can you imagine these days the level of physicality that we see on the ice and not wearing a helmet? I mean, I get scared that they're not wearing fishbowls. I think everyone should wear a fishbowl. We've seen what happened to Charlie McAvoy this season with the jaw injuries and the knocked out teeth. So I'm afraid of them not wearing fishbowls, but let alone helmets. So it's beautiful that the league commemorates Masterton, who was a very dedicated player. He would fight through pain and injuries and always be there for his team. He's regarded for being a team man with a reputation for being honest. And for Darren Raddysh to be nominated in honor of Bill Masterton is a very big accomplishment. It really goes to speak to the volume of Darren Raddysh's good character. And other players that have been nominated for this award have been Charlie McAvoy from the Bruins, Brad Marchand from the Panthers, Linus Ullmark from the Senators, Clayton Keller for Utah. Clayton Keller also lost his dad this season, and Ovechkin from the Caps. So clearly Darren Raddysh is in good company for this award. Now, one player that was on that list was Dahlin on the Sabres, and as a Hagel fan, I don't know how much I how much I think highly of Dahlin's reputation as an outstanding, dedicated, modest player. But if that's who the Sabres thought should represent their franchise and deserves that award, then so be it. We're Team Lightning over here, and we love Radish, so we're just going to ignore that. Anyways, though, Darren Radish has been with the Lightning organization for about 5 years now. He signed a 1-year, 2-way deal back in July 2021 when his brother, Taylor Radish, was still on the team. And if you know anything about that, Taylor Radish ended up being traded to the Blackhawks in the trade for Brandon Hagel. And now Taylor plays for the New York Rangers, and Darren is still with us, loyal as can be to the Bolts. His value as a player is extremely high. Take a look at his stats here. Just pull them up. Give us 1 second to load. I love when all you see is green. I love when it's not Christmas. It's just mainly green. He's the top scoring defenseman in the league. He's critical for our team on power plays. He's had 10 goals on power plays and 12 at even strength this season. He's been breaking franchise records left and right, as you can see here. One of his most recent historical records was scoring his 70th point on April 9th against the Montreal Canadiens, and he's the second defenseman in Tampa Bay history to do so. He's also had the most goals by defenseman in a single season. He beat Bolts veteran Dan Boyle and captain Victor Hedman, who's currently on a leave of absence, and those two Bolts players and, well, Bolts vets as well, had 20. They were tied at 20, and Darren Radish is at 22 so far this season. And as I said earlier, to have a career season during such a difficult personal time in your life, his father was battling cancer and eventually passed away from that battle in March. Darren Radish has played in 72 games this season. He's got 22 goals, 48 assists, 70 points. That is incredible. Very high numbers. Absolutely deserves the nomination for the Masterton Trophy, but absolutely, more than anything, deserves a high-paid extension with the Bolts. Now, I love this quote by Darren Radish about what hockey means to him and the familial aspect with it. He says, "Just the love I have for hockey and how much of it revolves around my family. It means a lot to push through, and my dad and my mom were always there. They said, whatever happens, you're still going to be our kid. We're still going to love you, and we're still going to support you as best as possible." Just to see how happy they were and to see how happy my brother was when I got my first chance at the NHL. And it's qualities like that that make guys like this so outstanding and so beneficial to our team. It's one thing to bring the heat on the ice and to have the numbers to match up that level, that high level of play, but it's another to simultaneously be a positive and motivating figure in the locker room, because that's just as important. The physicality of the game, but the mental aspect of it as well, and being that figure that not only feels supported, because when you feel supported, you do well, you exude good energy, good vibes, but also supports others. And Coop said regarding Radish's nomination for this award, he said, "Good on him. You always like to see good guys get rewarded, and Ratty's a good guy. He's not just a good guy, he's a very confident guy. He's a very great dominant player. And so I can't imagine a scenario where the Bolts don't re-sign him. I mean, unless Radish has a very aggressive agent and is really putting his foot down in terms of a certain number he wants to see and in terms of his salary. But I think that the relationship he's established with this team, being here for almost half a decade, especially that partnership he has with Moser on the defensive pairing, you can't really replace that. It's very difficult. We don't have any existing players at the moment to fill those shoes. So on the front office's end, it would be foolish not to re-sign Radish. And I think they have to do everything they can to afford him. And then on Radish's side, starting over with a new team is tough. Maybe he'd consider the Rangers if the Bolts didn't give him what he wanted, but I think he feels established enough, confident enough in Tampa Bay to want to stay here. But I think it's also going to be tricky for the front office because at the end of next season is when Kucherov's current contract comes to an end. And you got to find the cap space for Kucherov. That's non-negotiable. But for Radish as well. He is a very valuable player for this team, and I'm very excited to see what free agency brings. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. Let us know in the comments what you think. Do you think that the front office is going to re-sign Radish? Potentially let him go? Potentially risk losing one of the best defensive pairings in the leagues? I hope not. And finally, thank you all so much for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed yet and you got this far in the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm so thankful for all of you who watched, who listened, and keep tuning in. Share with your friends, your family for all things Tampa Bay Lightning. See you soon.